Where my hat, boy? Got the New York hat on. Holy! Big act. What's cracking with y'all? What's cracking? What's cracking? What's cracking? Hop up in here. Everybody's online. No intro today. Live breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Ooh, what's that? I don't know what that is. Breaking news, niggas. Breaking news. Holy. They done got the diddler. God damn it. They took the diddler in custody. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Big Ack is here. We're locked in for the rest of the night. I'm hearing, if this is what I believe it is, I believe that the indictment should be unsealed in the morning. Matter of fact, by the way, all this is happening right now. I've been on the phone with a lot of people. This is very big breaking news right here. Number one, let me see, log in. Here we go. Here we go. How y'all doing? Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Unfortunately, we are here under very unfortunate circumstances. Give me 1 second. We're looking at this. We're looking at this. I'm just checking this federal database real quick to see if we have any indictments. The indictment is clearly sealed. By the way, breaking news, people. Sean Puff Daddy Combs has been taken into custody. Now, what custody seemingly means is that... Ooh, what's this? That's not it. What custody seemingly means is that he has been arrested on a federal indictment. Now, this is going to be very important. Also, to clarify, and by the way, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of things tonight, so chat, you guys are going to want to stay tuned. Could y'all hear me? Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. I just want to make sure we good. You guys want to make sure you're tuned in for the entirety of this stream. Once again, Sean Puff Daddy Combs has been taken into custody in New York. I did tell you it was something about Diddy not only putting up that property, and supposedly he's going to sell the property at the Homely Hills property in LA, but it appears that Sean Diddy Combs, we all saw him go to New York. I told y'all, something about this told me that he was getting prepared, right? I told you that I expected the indictment to come, or news of indictment or lack thereof to happen before the end of this month. And I only told you that about 4 or 5 days ago. And, from what I've learned about the feds, they might take you into custody on the weekend, but you only find out on Monday, okay? Obviously, we're hearing that it happened today. But regardless, maybe and possibly we will hear a possible arraignment tomorrow. But a lot of things to discuss, okay? A lot of things to discuss. Now, truth be told, and what we should be very aware of, and we're going to read some of these details. We're getting exclusively via TMZ, and they have actual sources, I noticed as a fact, with HSI and also with the Southern New York District. They work a lot there, getting tips, leads, this and third. So when they say something, it's official. There's two things to consider. First and foremost, if Diddy's taken into custody, that word custody is very loose. You could be taken into custody but not being arrested necessarily for these said crimes. Now, it's more likely that he's arrested and he's going to be charged officially for these crimes, which means the grand jury is over with, because, as I've said before, Diddy not only because he was not only because he came back to New York, looked like he was tying up loose ends elsewhere, and he came to New York voluntarily. This also tells me that I believe, again, I'm telling you, the rumors are Diddy's paying him between $2 to $3 million per month on lawyers. It's a full court press, not only on a criminal level, but civilly as well. He's handling every and anything because he does realize that some of these civil cases turned into something that became a federal, investigation. So his lawyers are working around the clock. When he came to New York, it told me that, we're not talking about a public defender. We're not talking about some run-of-the-mill lawyer. We're not talking about some low level. We're talking about the best of the best. Diddy got the most money. Well, he has enough money to pay for any lawyer he needs. And those lawyers, the difference between $2 to $3 million a month and you paying your lawyer maybe $2,000 a month is the fact that they're going to be talking to the U.S. attorney directly. Okay? Not trying to torpedo the case. They can't call no favors like, nah, don't indict him. But what they could call in is some transparency on usually a process that's non-transparent, right? The grand jury process is non-transparent usually for a defendant. I told you guys before, it was possible that maybe Diddy was here to testify, which is usually unusual in a grand jury indictment proceeding. However, the reason why I thought he might have been involved is that his lawyers have been cooperative, okay? Even though Diddy's the subject of this investigation, your lawyers still got to cooperate, right? So, hey, again, maybe if they got some safes, hey, we'll just unlock them for you. Hey, you said you guys can't find what? We'll help you out. Now, again, this also is usually a sign of good faith, especially if you believe you're innocent, right? Hey, listen, we'll help you figure out and investigate because we know you're going to come to the conclusion we ain't do nothing, right? So, again, even if Diddy's guilty, if you got the best lawyers are going to talk to the U.S. attorney, right? The people who are presenting this to the grand jury. So I thought when he came to New York, maybe he would testify. It's very rare, but you got the best lawyers in the world that are probably friends with these guys. Maybe they could say, hey, could we have the grand jury consider Diddy's side of things? He's down to testify. You guys could, ask him certain questions unless he has to plead the fifth. And that was unlikely. And by the way, I'm still not sure if that happened. Regardless, if that didn't happen, the other thing happened. And it tells me that Diddy coming to New York, it was probably abundantly clear and it was sent a notice to his lawyers that, hey, brother, we're probably going to come to a decision soon within the next week or so. I've talked to a few people who said, damn, why Diddy ain't run? There ain't no running here, right? The reason why there ain't no running, yes, his passport isn't taken, but for you to leave legally the United States on any flight, private or commercial, there's something called a manifest. You have to register with the FAA with the location, the original location to the destination. And if they ever saw that Diddy was going to any place that could protect him from, extradition, Bali or something like that, they don't need to wait on the grand jury to arrest him, okay? It becomes a different process, but they could arrest him immediately. So I'm pretty sure it was like a handshake type of situation to say, we ain't going to lock you up while we go through this process because we want to make sure we make the right decision and pretty much ensuring that there's no police tainting this process, no detective, no elected official that's swaying this process. A grand jury is going to be a peer of Diddy. Like, it's going to be, people who are constituents of that particular district, which is the Southern District of New York. So, that is the preferred way to indict, especially for people who think that, for example, if you indict Diddy and Diddy beats the case, you're done. Like, if you do it, so a DA could do it through, obviously what's called a complaint. If you indict Diddy, through a complaint, which then goes to a judge. They're going to arrest him, but they're going to go to a judge for what's called a preliminary hearing. I showed you that that's what happened with A$AP Rocky. Let's say even if that goes through, the preliminary hearing and they do indict him, if Diddy beats that case, which you got to imagine, if Diddy's facing life, I don't care what charges we're going to see, he's going to be facing life, right? If Diddy beats and spanks that case, that DA is finished, right? Like, yo, you're overzealous DA trying to make a name by indicting a black man. Diddy could spin this all type of ways. If he gets indicted by a DA or a DA's office, that was just overzealous. And, you know, he could even flip the narrative. Yo, you listen to a bunch of civil lawsuits which don't really account for the fact, and they're only complaints, at least the initial stages. So they wanted to cross their T's, dot their I's. The DA is not making a decision. The DA is offering up evidence that they've found through search warrants, interrogations, snitches, anything else, witnesses, victims, that they would have the grand jury to basically say, do we have probable cause to indict? And what happens at a point is that, you know, remember I said when they start serving those subpoena, I said, oh, we're getting close. Because it feels like it was at the last part of validation, or not validation, but just checking a few things. And even then I thought it was for maybe additional charges. I think that they went through the brunt of the evidence already and they were finalizing this whole thing. So they had to do a vote, right? Now, that vote would most likely have been done, I would think, last week. Again, I don't know exactly how, you know, every grand jury proceeding works, but maybe it was done last week, maybe Friday. Could have been done today, right? The reason I would say Friday, if a grand jury has been held for months, because from we heard grand jury's been months now. So these people have been listening to this fucking probable cause case for months. I would imagine if they were going to vote, they would probably vote on the Friday, because why come back on the Monday to vote? Because today's Monday, right? So they probably voted then, and then what happens is there's the next step is a presentment, right? Now the presentment is where the grand jury, after their vote, presents it to the court what their findings are. Now, again, you know, the difference between a grand jury and a jury in your criminal case, right? Your trial jury is that your trial jury has to go 12, if it's 12 jurors, 12-0. Everyone has to agree that you're guilty. In a grand jury hearing, usually they have 23 people and they look for at least 23 people, and they look for like 12, right? So if 12 people, you know, so it would be 12 that say yes and maybe 11 said no, they indict, right? So they're looking for majority. Majority rules at that point, okay? Remember, this is not to convict you. It's only to indict. Indicting someone means that there's probable cause that these charges should be listened to in a full court hearing, right? If you don't, so after they vote, clearly it seems like they would have gotten a positive vote. We don't know what that number is sometimes. And I don't think that usually they don't bar the people who are on grand juries from actually speaking out about the proceeding. But you never know. The judge might to say, hey, we don't want to taint this case. Don't say nothing about it. Or they might say you can't say anything about it until the case is done. But regardless, those people, we're probably going to hear some leaks on what that process was like and what the vote was like. Like, was it close? Was it 24 or 23-0? Was it 12-11? Who knows? Regardless, they do a presentment, and that's when they, the presentment is an official bill, which what they call, if there is no indictment, it's called a no bill. So they basically fill out a paper. They say it's a no bill indictment, which means we don't find probable cause that this potential defendant could be brought up on charges on any of the criminal charges that were presented to us. So they present the criminal charges the DA thinks could match the crimes, present the evidence of the crime. They get to look at the probable cause, And if there is probable cause, they vote yes. If there is none, they vote no. If they're voting, if the overall majority is no, they would say the no bill, we're giving a no bill, which means Diddy would be scot-free. Usually in cases where grand juries choose not to indict and they present a no bill, unless there's some drastic change or some nigga just like fucking confesses, the case is pretty much dead, right? Like, you know what I mean? You're not gonna bring another, usually detectives did the best job they could to fucking find all the evidence to bring to grand jury. If the grand jury can't indict, usually dead, right? Now, it doesn't mean you're indemnified. So if if you come back later, the difference between that and going to trial, say O.J. Simpson came out, right? And O.J. Simpson said, you know what? I did kill that bitch. Nothing could happen to him. He went through the trial of him being, charged criminally with murder, and he beat it. So even if he admits it, can't go back. That's called double jeopardy. With the grand jury, the case is usually just dead because there's no reason to ever bring it back to a grand jury if the evidence isn't there. But if that person comes out and says, oh yeah, I did do that shit, you're probably going to get indicted. That's just how it works. That rarely ever happens unless somebody's a fucking idiot, if they did the crime, whatever. But that wouldn't appear to be the situation here. This situation looks like they've voted and they've agreed with the U.S. Attorney Office basically saying, hey, there are probable cause. Now, we don't know if they're indicting on every count or every particular charge. We will see how many counts, what charges. What we do and should probably note about this whole situation is that if you listen to any lawyer, historically, a grand jury, they have a saying to say a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich, which means it doesn't take much to convince them because they only need probable cause, right? If you can make a good argument that seems to be the thing that happened, which every, most prosecutor could do the bare minimum. Like, think about Young Thug. Like, again, I think that did go through grand jury indictment, I believe. Actually, the first time there was 3 people charged with nuts murder. The first time they got grand jury indicted and they got found innocent. The case got dropped because they realized even after it got indicted, the case got dropped because they realized they had the wrong people. But the grand jury looked at it and said, well, it kind of makes sense, so we're going to indict them. But then as the case developed and other things kind of came out, the prosecutors realized this case was not going to go anywhere. So they dropped it, right? So again, a grand jury indictment, it's all about probable cause. They could also indict you for literally anything. The thing in Diddy's situation, and this is why I said this on Vlad, right? I did an interview on Vlad. Well, actually, I don't know if that came out yet. I definitely predicted that, Diddy would be indicted. I think many people did. Because here's the thing. It's one thing to indict someone on very specific crimes. Yo, did you shoot that person at that time on that street? Right? Now, if you have an alibi, well, at that time I was fucking my bitch in another state. Well, that kind of blows up the probable cause. Yeah, that's an alibi. You're not going to indict. Right? Like, again, this is if you're innocent, right? Like, obviously if you were chilling on the street, had a gun in your waist, like, you may get indicted because motherfucker, like, there's probable cause that you fit the description, had a gun, was on the same street that somebody got shot at the same time. Here's the point I'm trying to say. They hit Diddy not with specific and we're going to see specific, allegations and charges. That's what I think, right? I'm guesstimating here. I do think that the indictment will be on seal tomorrow in the morning or maybe Wednesday. However, the reason why I always say when you get hit with a few charges, not only is it easy to indict, it's just hard to beat, period. RICO. Racketeering charges historically are hard to beat because while maybe one particular crime, of being an organized criminal gang or whatever, or criminal organization might be hard to prove. Like, hey, and I'm going, this is some state shit now, even though the feds have higher standards. Say for example, you know why Young Thug was discharged? Well, you got to prove that Young Thug, even though he rented the car that fit the description that did the drive-by, was Young Thug in the car? Did he give somebody else the car? Like, you can't just, did he know about someone else driving? Like, you can't just indict or just like bring somebody to trial for one thing because you kind of have a hunch, unless you have somebody who was in the car who did it, who may have, had some type of text message to Thug to say, Thug told me to do it. He gave me the gun here. Actually, he's caught on my Ring camera. I drove his car. That's called, Thug gets arrested. The easier way to get Thug to go down is you just file a RICO. So you put that allegation, right, which is kind of patchy without all those, details, with 5 other allegations. And it basically, you overwhelm the jury. Like I kind of have a mixed feeling about RICO cases because it's all about overwhelming the jury. Like, I know a lot of people like, nah, man, why is Woody got Young Thug off? Why do you think that? Like, they're presenting shit after shit after shit. Yeah, that might have been one of the main murders that he was supposedly be the main witness for, but they're presenting like 20 other different crimes. The point of a RICO is not to prove one crime, it's to prove that you guys had a operation that historically did multiple crimes, right? And also, by the way, obviously the feds specifically love it, but law enforcement loves this type of way of charging people because they, historically when the top guy would never touch the drugs or the gun to kill somebody or touch the money, so he would always look clean. He would have somebody else tell somebody else to tell somebody else to do it. How do you catch the guy who's making all the plays and financing and doing all the shit? You catch him with the RICO. So, it's popular for that reason. We see all our favorite, again, this is coming out of the Southern District, and I'm going to read this in a second. This is coming out of the Southern District of New York. Now, the Southern District of New York, I've told you, this is the, see? Okay, now TMZ just updated us. A law enforcement source confirms the arrest was scheduled for Tuesday, but something happened that caused the feds to move in a day earlier. Now, what this means is that they were watching him, most likely, not even most likely, 5,000,000%. Diddy's phone is tapped, his associates' phones are tapped, and they were sitting on it, and they were going to arrest him. Like, I'll give you the story on the 6ix9ine situation. I remember when 6ix9ine saw me or wanted to see me that Saturday. They were going to arrest him, I think, like 4 or 5 days later. Then they hear him on the phone. Also, they had trucks, like, I guess he realized after a while, they had trucks all lined up, like white trucks all lined up outside his building. Pretty much just surveillance shit, right? Like, this is why people be like, oh, Diddy should run to another country. You think the feds are just like over here watching him on Instagram, walking around Harlem? Or the feds is like literally there. Like, my nigga, they've spent so much money on this shit, they can't have this. Anyway, with 6ix9ine, when he was on the phone saying, oh yeah, I'm about to go to this casino, somehow Shotty and them found out, and they said, and that's when the Jim Jones thing coming, they'd be like, yo, y'all gotta go make an example out of him. They realize he's gonna be the main guy who we could possibly flip. We can't do with a dead snitch. By the way, 6ix9ine didn't snitch yet, but they knew he probably would. So they arrested him early. So they said, hell nah, nigga, we ain't gonna have you get shot, okay? So I'm pretty sure Diddy might have planned to, I don't know, maybe there was something on the itinerary. Maybe somebody was coming in town that they feel could like it have aided him to either do some shit to jeopardize their case. So they arrested him today, right? So if the arrest was meant for tomorrow, it probably means that the U.S. attorney was probably ready to unseal this case on Wednesday. So I'm still thinking Wednesday. So I think they're going to take him into custody. I would expect that whatever interrogation they would have wanted to do to Diddy, they would have probably ran it by his lawyers already. So they're not waiting till, like, broke niggas, if they collar you, they're going to be like, let me take you to the station and ask you some question. They probably already asked Diddy, like, hey, you and your lawyers want to come in, we do want to have some, we got a question for you. Or maybe they even offer to proffer, right? So I'm pretty sure they're just going to keep Diddy in custody, and him being in custody, again, what we don't know yet or realize is that most likely, Diddy is not the only person charged. The thing with RICO cases, and we do believe he's getting hit with a few things. And let me backtrack again too. So racketeering cases hard to beat, easy to indict, especially if they have multiple isolated areas of criminal activity, which they obviously do with Diddy. So we think they're going to hit him with a racketeering, a RICO statute, and under RICO, you could put multiple things. So like the RICO is the big thing. So like you're a criminal organization. Now, what criminal organization acts did you habitually participate in? Sex trafficking is going to fall underneath that, right? There probably is going to be, I got to get my nigga Myron on here. But if you talk to like some people who are, familiar with the FEDS system and how like the U.S. attorney usually get down, especially Southern District, they always throw drugs in it. Like for example, I'm going to use 6ix9ine a lot as an example. It's the same people who charge 6ix9ine. When they charge 6ix9ine, they put that, he was selling drugs back on Locust Street back in the day. What the fuck does 6ix9ine sell drugs? It's not even a matter of him selling drugs. It makes the charges look more appealing, right? Also, if you're trying to map out an organization, you want to show that they're making money in illicit ways. They're blatantly just breaking the law by either doing violence, extreme violence, or just doing some really deviant behavior like sex trafficking. So I think we're going to see some drugs, and I think we're going to see something in terms of violence, okay? Now, the big thing, obviously, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here with a lot of things, they're probably, if they could tie him to Tupac, they're going to, right? If they could tie him to the 99 club shooting in New York, they're going to, right? By the way, all of these things have no statutes of limitation. Murder, attempted murder, these all are going to be, par for the course. Now, the drugs, that does have statute of limitation. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Statute of limitations, drugs, federal. Yeah, federal drug crime. I think it's, drug crimes, usually it's around 5 years. Now, granted, the way how they write these because also the way how they write these two is that they could use 20 years ago as long as you kept doing it as long as it was continual and it kept going until 5 years ago. So that's also like a loophole. So they could charge you for selling drugs in the 1930s as long as you kept selling drugs until 2019. You get what I'm saying? Now, if you're 5 years out and you haven't done none of that shit, you're clear, right? But they could bring it all the way back up as long as you kept doing it. So again, they're going to try most likely, obviously they had arrested that guy who everybody called a drug mule, right? Remember this guy? Like we haven't heard nothing from him since. Drug mule Diddy, right? Which I think we all probably feel like they probably flipped, right? This guy. So,
I firmly believe
if he goes in there and says, yes, Diddy had me transporting. By the way, he did do a plea as well too. He did do a plea. But if he goes in there and says, Diddy used to have me bring, drugs in my booty hole across all of the fucking country. You know what I mean? Like I used to put the crack in my brack or whatever the fuck. I don't know what the fuck. You know what I mean? If he does that and I was doing it up till this point, this is 2024, those are drug charges that would probably go underneath it. If you ask me, and by the way, I think I've been pretty accurate with the predictions. Sex trafficking, we're going to see 100%, I believe. I think we're going to see something with drugs and something with violence. Now, we might see on some other things like extortion, blackmail. We like, however they're gonna file those, but we're almost anticipating it's gonna be something to that extent. Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So yeah. So pretty much, I've told you like the worst. Anytime you see somebody get charged with these crimes, they're fucked. You got to just take a plea, just do a couple years and hopefully a couple of years and get out. Sex trafficking, right? That's like a catch-all shit. Like, nigga, were you pimping this bitch? Like, yes, you got him. Because it's kind of weird how it's set up. It says if you've moved a individual across state lines for the purpose of commercial sex acts that interfered with interstate commerce, which is like a really hazy way of saying if you fuck bitches and you got money, you could be sex trafficking depending how we want to see it, motherfucker. You get what I'm saying? At least for a charge. Obviously you got to really prove it, right? Obviously we heard the stories about Diddy, so we're not gonna be like, oh my God, no, how are you gonna prove it? Like, I mean, pretty much what Cassie's described as sex trafficking, pretty much when we're hearing that, FRICO, the FRICO sounds like sex trafficking, just to be honest. That's kind of the damn near definition of what sex trafficking would be legally almost, defined as. Other than that, so you never want to get a sex trafficking charge because it's just so hard to beat. And I'm talking just as, obviously I'm the ghetto lawyer because I'm not an official lawyer, by the way, clearly. Sex trafficking charge is hard to beat. RICO, obviously RICO could have sex trafficking underneath it, but anything RICO, they usually do that with gangs more. Usually do that with violence or murders, but like still, RICO, just hard to beat. Wire fraud. This is for all the scammers in the world, right? They can't catch you because you think you finesse Chase. Well, some way, somehow, you had to work through a bank, you're going to jail, right? Like, that's how they catch most of the people who, maybe they haven't been violent, but they think they're doing white collar crime. They even capture a lot of these guys even on Wall Street, a lot of white collar crime. You'll see the wire fraud. What else? I'm trying to think. What else? There's a few other ones. RICO, sex trafficking, wire fraud. Okay. I'll think of it later. Anyway, these pictures look like, these are old. Yeah, these are old. So this is from March 25th, 2024. This is when the feds appeared on the scene. It said he was taken into custody. We're going to have to learn more about this. Was he taken into custody by them showing up unannounced? Or, again, we have to believe, because we know Diddy's going to have to go through this case, go through this trial. He's well aware of it, right? I'm not defending him, Chad, for anybody who thinks. I'm just, like, the guy got it. Even if he's guilty, he's not dumb, right? Like, you're not going to be like, this is not like, oh, my God, I'm running away. You can't. In a lot of these situations, they might have turned him over. They might have just got a call. Yo, yeah, we were going to do it tomorrow, but bring that nigga in. Or bring that nigga downstairs. Who knows? He might be at a penthouse somewhere. You know what I'm saying? They're not like fucking, you know what I mean? In some people's situation, they would be fucking kicking through the windows. But now that clearly Diddy knows that he was on an investigation, I'm pretty sure it was a very formal type of situation. Yo, we have a warrant for your client's arrest. And I'm pretty sure it was peaceful, right? I'm pretty sure it was peaceful. Apparently, okay, he swooped into so Diddy was just arrested and taken into federal custody in New York Monday night. TMZ has learned. Sources tell TMZ that Homeland Security swooped into a Midtown hotel late Monday. Now, you know what's funny? Homeland Security is, like, HSI works with FBI and local authorities, and then they also deputize a lot of like NYPD officers. They do a lot in the Southern District of New York. And it's funny because when you think of Homeland Security, you're like, God damn it, how much fucking is Diddy doing that? When you hear Homeland Security, you're like, God damn, that nigga's dick must be something. Yo, it must be what they used to call it, a weapon of mass destruction. if Homeland Security is no, Homeland Security is just. I mean, obviously they do investigate up to that. I'm gonna see if I get Myron on here, bro. Like he used to work for HSI, which is Homeland Security, and they do a lot. Like they do a lot of gang bust. They do a lot of shit like this. They're not necessarily only trying to prevent terrorists from knocking down a building or two, right? But anyway, Homeland Security swooped into a Midtown hotel late Monday where Diddy was staying and they arrested him. We have unconfirmed reports the feds are searching his hotel room. Okay, yeah, so basically they hit him with an arrest warrant and a search warrant. Again, we're told Diddy was taken into the FBI field office in Manhattan. It appears that the action was taken in connection with the ongoing criminal investigation into alleged sex trafficking and other offenses that led to search warrants being issued being issued and executed at Diddy's homes in Beverly Hills and Miami. As we reported, a grand jury has been hearing testimony from various accusers over the last few months. Anything more to add? Okay, Diddy's attorney did speak. Let me see, is there anything else? Okay. Ooh, here we go. Another update. Remember they were supposed to lock him up tomorrow, but here my boy Myron, just on time, my boy.
Yeah, I'll jump on your stream in a little bit to talk about this.
Okay, yeah. I'm in Discord, so just hit me anytime.
All right, bro. Let me log into my Discord and I'll find you. Can you text me your username and I'll jump on and we'll chop it up about this?
Yeah, you don't remember Discord? Well, I see you on Discord. I could call you. So I don't know if you're on the same computer. Are you?
I'm on it. I'm gonna be on a different computer when I go live.
Okay.
You know what? Let me look at my Discord right now and see if I can find your account and just take a quick picture and have my guy add you from there.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, give me a few minutes and I'll jump on and we can talk about this for sure.
Okay, perfect. All
right, bro. Bye.
All right. Again, Myron Gaines, if you guys don't know, co-host of the First and Fifth podcast, but he was a former federal agent, did tons of arrests. He worked for HSI around the border area, but he's very familiar with how these investigations are done, complaints are done, how they work in lieu with the U.S. attorney, and basically pretty much how these situations get handled when they have to take someone into custody. You know, I think he's taken a few, I don't know if it's like celebrities, but high-profile targets into custody. So we'll get like some insight from him in a little bit. Anyway, here we go. It says, so his arrest was scheduled for Tuesday, but something happened that caused the feds to move in. Hold on, let me take my phone off. Do not disturb. I always got this shit on now. All right. So it was scheduled for Tuesday, but something happened, so they had to move it a day earlier. However, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, and this is probably interesting, right? Says federal agents took him in based on a sealed indictment filed by the Southern District of New York. I searched the indictments before I got on here that were all filed in Southern District of New York, and from what I could see, there is no indictment there, which is in line with exactly what that U.S. attorney said, that is sealed. So again, we're not hearing when he'll be brought into court. I would imagine that his lawyers wouldn't want him to be, I don't know where they would hold him. You know, I don't know where the federal holding facility is, even though I've heard that it's supposedly they'll lock up. I believe when Casanova was first locked up, they went through the New York intake system, which is like they went down to the Tombs. Like that's like a popular, jail for people in the New York City area. I think 6ix9ine did it as well. No, he didn't, because actually he did until he started cooperating and they got him through the rat hole. You feel me? Shout out to my boy. But yeah, so I would imagine that Diddy's attorneys don't want him just fucking sitting in jail, right? They want to get as quickly as possible to court to initiate what probably is going to have to be a bonding situation. Also, for anybody who was saying he was why don't he leave? If you know you're going to get indicted, he's not going to live in Bali, okay? Again, trust me, I don't care if they got to go kidnap his ass from Bali. They would have kidnapped his ass from Bali. He's not getting away, right? You don't want to act like you're running. You don't even want to act like you're planning to run. So if anything, you want to give the government the least amount of reason that whenever you get arraigned and you make a bond application, right? When it's considered, they're not looking at you as a flight risk. They want to be able to say, hey, Mr. Sean Puffy Combs knew that he was a subject of a investigation by the Southern District of New York for this amount of months. Ever since then, he's been communicating with the government and federal authorities about his whereabouts, anytime he was boarding a plane, where he was going, because he looks forward to the day that he's going to be able to face these charges in court and clear his name. Right? Like, you know, that's going to be like, all right, bond, I don't know, who knows, $5 million, right? Like, cool. Get that nigga ankle monitor and send him to the FRICO penthouse back. You get what I'm saying? Like, but that's better than them saying, all right, this nigga was loading up a jet to fly to motherfucking North Korea. Like, he definitely not getting out. Like, come on, man. Did he even look like a nigga who would even do good, like, you know, in jail, period? So I would have to imagine. Somebody said, act out like what? Yeah, so, you know, I would imagine that they have communicated with law enforcement for this exact reason, right? Like, yo, we weren't trying to run, none of that shit. We are definitely trying to cooperate. We're trying to make sure we get to a trial that we can either get this dismissed or we could beat it. And he's not a flight risk. And when you think about, you know, we could Google this now, right? Federal guidelines for bail consideration, right? I mean, it's usually the same. I forgot what they call it. They usually consider a few things, and there's actually a name for that. In federal cases, they consider these things severity of the offense. Obviously, these are offenses that we believe, again, I'm not no lawyer, but we believe that this could be damn near a life sentence for Diddy. They're serious and heinous in nature. If they concern anything about shooting, maybe a murder, we don't know. But sexual assault, sex trafficking, these are pretty serious first degree offenses. And yeah, the severity of the offenses are going to be seen as high. The defendant's criminal history, I don't know what Diddy's criminal. We could probably Google that, right? Even though we might not know everything completely. And I don't know if they really, I mean, obviously, if something that was expungible, like they want to give a fuck. But if he had prior felonies, I don't know if he was. Is Diddy a felon? Is Diddy a felon? But, oh, here we go. So he was arrested in the lobby. God damn, my boy was probably going. Have y'all seen the video of Diddy, like, you know, kind of outside? You know, there's a video of Diddy in New York. And I think I even posted it yesterday. It was kind of an odd video because, like, Diddy's just there. And he's almost there like, it's like a mannequin. Like, he's just kind of there and people, he's just like a spectacle. Oh, shit, it's Diddy. He's not really reacting to people. He's not answering their questions. He's not saying, nah, everything's good, brother love. He's not doing that normal thing. He's just kind of there and allowing people to have almost just access to him, which is, you know, still a little bit shocking. I guess not here. I will find on Akademiks TV. All right, DJ Akademiks TV. Sorry. Here we go. Is it this? No. SB. I know it's on the page somewhere. If it's not here, I'm going to go to Twitter with it, but I think we should have it here. Okay, so this is one of them.
Oh my God. Oh, that's crazy. I thought he saw him already.
There's a war going on outside.
Now, if you guys don't know, I believe that's G Dep, right? Interesting story about G Dep, former Bad Boy artist. If I'm not incorrect, was it G Dep? G Dep, yeah. G Dep, like, in 2013, is it 2013 or 2010? I can't remember when. He basically got away with the murder like 15 years before, and he randomly just came out and said, yo, I got to get this off my conscience. I clapped the nigga, bro, back in the 90s. Like, he just literally confessed to murder randomly, okay? This is G-Dep, and by the way, I'm not trying to bring him down or whatever while we're talking about it.
He was on the verge of making it big.
But yeah, in the fall of 1993, a month before his 19th birthday, so apparently this was when he was 18, he did a murder which stayed on his conscience for a very, very long time. And when did he admit to it? Let's see. I can't remember when. He had admitted. Okay. Yeah, in 2010. In 2010, he confessed randomly. Like, I don't even know. Maybe it was a video when he confessed. But he did like a video. He was just like, yeah, I killed somebody, which was kind of like so spooky about the 90s. Look, G-Dep confession. It's so spooky about the 90s that somebody could just fucking do a murder and get away with it. But he just kind of randomly came out and just.
So this night you were looking to get some money, you said.
Yeah. And I rode the bike over. I rode the bike in the neighborhood for a couple of minutes. Then,
hey, and by the way, I'm not judging this man who knows what was on his conscience and who knows how his life was being lived. I don't know what that feels like, where you did something and it's just fucking with you so much that, you know, years after. Remember, this is 1993. And in 1993, that would have been 17 years afterwards, right? So he did this at 18, 17. He pretty much lived a second life, but it was still on his conscience, and he admitted.
I just went towards Park Avenue, and I saw a guy standing there, smoking like he was smoking a cigarette or something like that. And I approached him. I got off the bike and I approached him. He didn't seem like he saw me, so I just approached him. And then when I approached him, I asked him where the money was. He didn't say anything. It's like he just really responded.
Yeah, I feel bad. You can tell the way he's looking and just confessing. You could tell like this is played in his mind 15,000 times. And by the way, the only reason I'm playing this is one of Diddy's artists, a former Bad Boy artist. He recently just got out of jail. The video I just played is Diddy meeting up with him, and Diddy's dapping him up, and Diddy was just like, "Welcome home." Ironically, this guy confessed and did his jail time, which eventually got commuted. Obviously that would have been a cold case pretty much, but he admitted to it. So he did about 10 years. They commuted his sentence, or actually more than 10 years. They commuted his sentence. He did 13 years actually. They commuted his sentence, and they essentially granted him his freedom. And it's ironic. The irony here is that Diddy gets arrested today for, crimes that he's definitely not admitting to. But, I remember back then, I don't even know if Diddy spoke on him like admitting to that and then getting charged and confessing and pleading guilty. But Diddy's in the position where he's potentially going to go to, prison for things that, obviously he's not confessing to, but there's a lot of smoke there, right? Anyway, let me just finish. It's only 2 more minutes. Listen to G-Dep, then I'll get back to the Diddy thing.
Facially, but he didn't say anything. So I asked him again, where's the money? And he put his hands up, and then he just we caught eye contact. Then he grabbed the gun, and it was kind of like a struggle. And I pulled the gun back from him, and then I fired 3 times. And I didn't realize it was hitting him or anything. I just, cause I didn't see anything. You know, I just fired. I fired 3 times, and then I went after I fired the gun. I kind of just like ran back to the bicycle that I had on the side. And I got on it. He kind of came after me, and I rode off. And I rode up the block, then around the block, then I came like back around the block on 112th at Park Avenue and looked up the block.
Wow, he remembers even the exact street names. Yeah, this was fucking with him. Like you could tell by this is zoned out look as he's doing his confession.
And I saw you know, like a scene. I saw like a police car. I don't know if I saw a car with the lights. The lights coming towards me the wrong way. You know, the wrong way on the block. And I saw an officer. It looked like somebody kneeling over somebody on the floor. So I figured that's what it was. And then I just rolled the bike back around the opposite way. And then I went into my building.
Wow. But yeah, G-Dep is home. And Diddy, while in New York, looked like that security flanking him here.
Oh, that's crazy. I thought he saw him already.
There's a war going on outside.
So ironic and interesting. Even the song in the background is a war going on outside. No man is safe. Now the other video that was in question that I was talking about was this video here. And I've been seeing these videos a lot because Diddy doesn't seem present in terms of he's not answering people. So people are just like recording him, and it's like he's a spectacle. It's almost like he's a zoo animal. Like, look at him. Oh my God, he's real. But he's not like answering people like, nah, baby, I'm innocent, girl. Like, obviously, that might be a bad look if he says that anyway. But like, he's not even like answering them and like being very present. Anyway.
That's really Diddy, bro.
Lying. Bitch, stop touching me. What are you talking about? Stop touching me.
Hey, yo, what's up?
That's crazy. Where Carisha? Where Carisha now? No Diddy.
Did they say no Diddy to Diddy? Man, where's Christian? Yo, Christian Combs. This is where you gotta live these raps, Christian Combs. You say anybody who say no Diddy gonna get fucked up. Somebody get Christian Combs. Where is he? Now, here's the interesting part about it. I do believe that if we go by the civil suits, let me just finish playing this.
Yo, stop fucking playing with me. Back the fuck up. No, well, guess who's not? Watch how I won't.
Now, one of the interesting things about this is that, remember I'm telling y'all, this is a RICO case. Now, shout out to my man, and I don't know if I could get him on here. I'm gonna hit Kodak's lawyer. I'm gonna give me a second. I'm gonna try to see if I could get him on here because here's the thing too. As I said about if they're gonna hit him with a RICO, if you're gonna hit Diddy with the RICO, hold on one second. I'm tweeting out his damn link real quick. I don't know if I didn't tweet it out yet. Sorry. Okay. So Oh, so anyway, here's the point I'm trying to say. So, if we're going to assume that there's going to be a racketeer and a RICO charge that's going to be levied against Diddy, if you're trying to paint a picture to either a grand jury or now clearly to a trial jury that Diddy is some mastermind that's had other people doing his bidding, whether it, obviously recruiting, because remember, a lot of these escorts and women were, they were ascertained by other people. So other people would, hey, I'm going to put you on a private jet. I'm going to send you there for Diddy to be used in some sexual, ritual or fucking freak off. It's very tough and very hard to say he's the only one you're going to charge. So what we're going to see is that there's going to be probably some other charges, right? And when I mean other charges, other people charged. Now, if we go by a lot of these civil suits, they were trying to throw a good damn lob to say Justin Combs should get charged as well. Basically saying he was doing a lot of the same things in terms of freak-offs and sex trafficking women. Again, those claims came from civil suits, though. But we all know the investigation of this arises from civil suits. So it's going to be important to see who gets charged as well. I don't think that Justin Combs will be charged. I don't think Christian Combs is going to be charged at all because we didn't really hear his name at all. Actually, we did hear his name in one of the joints. Somebody he drugged some girl. I just don't think he's going to be charged, honestly, personally. Justin Combs, I think he's a little bit closer to the situation if they were going to investigate it. I still don't think he gets charged. Quincy, I think he's, in the clear. Obviously, if we think about his beautiful daughters, I don't think they're good. But we'll find out soon. We'll probably find out before, I'm pretty sure if we watch, the mom of Justin Combs is Misa Hilton. That's her name, I believe. She'll say something shortly. And, usually the way how the feds work is that, any law enforcement entity, they like to do all the arrests at the same time. So if Diddy's in custody, and let's say he's been in custody for a few hours, they did a coordinated effort to get the others in custody if they were arresting other people, right? So we should probably shortly see, some type of update either from Misa's page, and, obviously she's probably going to react to either Diddy getting arrested, or if her son, Justin, gets arrested, she's definitely going to be saying something, right? We probably hope. So we'll see about that. Who else could be charged? I mean, there are certain people who probably worked with him that did his bidding, right? Allegedly. People who used to, remember the whole thing about the Cassie thing, right? One of the big, and this I was talking about getting Bradford Cohen on here, because Bradford Cohen eloquently put this on the record, which I thought was smart. He's a defense attorney that has, did his work in federal and state cases, and he's a brilliant attorney. He said, when the video leaked of Diddy giving Cassie the beats, when that video leaked, he said, hey, I'm not being an asshole. I know a lot of people are going to be shocked by what I'm saying, but I'm not being an asshole, right? What he did
Disturbing new video appear.
What he did say was, I think this video might have been leaked strategically. Well, what's the strategy? If it was leaked strategically, not by the feds, because the feds could have leaked it too. They believe Cassie's team may have already had this video, maybe have even threatened Diddy with the video. That probably led to Diddy settling in 24 hours. Historically, that's record time, right? But this video and it leaking could probably help drive the narrative, especially if the prosecutors or the investigators subpoenaed Cassie in for an interview. And in the interview, it wasn't clear if they were looking at her as just the victim or perhaps a madame. They were looking at her as Ghislaine Maxwell to Jeffrey Epstein. Hey, Cassie, yeah, I know he was abusive with you. Yeah, he used to give you the beats, but all of the people, the other victims that were sex trafficked around the time you were there, we heard you reached out to them. We heard you used to, sweet talk them, and you used to, when they were in distress, you used to calm them down. That sounds like somebody who's complicit. Again, I don't know this as a fact. But I'm going off Bradford Cohen's theory. It was a brilliant theory, and you got to think really strategically, right? So how do you, if you're Cassie, how do you clear yourself? Well, the way you clear yourself, you put the video out of this nigga giving you the beats. Hey, whatever y'all think I did, I ain't do it. If I did get like 15 bitches and 15 long dick niggas, pause, extra pause on that. It's because I had to. Diddy was beating my ass. So I'm not like a Ghislaine Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell was the person who would get the young girls for Epstein and would even tell them, hey, nah, maybe you should go topless. Maybe you should do this. Like basically almost coercing them, right? But she, was seen as more of a friendly face because she's a woman, right? But she kind of was doing the same bullshit, right? So if the feds are looking at this as a possibility, how does Cassie escape that? Because put it like this, if you think about just traditional pimping, the bottom bitch gets the beats too. Like, let's keep it a beat. The bottom bitch gets the beats too. Like, by the way, I'm going to talk, if you're new to my stream, and I know we do have, like, it looks like we have about almost 50,000 people in here. I'm not the guy you come to hear, like, fucking politically correct things. So we're going to talk, like, I'm not trying to disrespect either women or nobody, but we're going to talk a little bit, realistic. Because that's how investigators are going to be looking at it, at least before they file their charges or know where to go. Okay, yeah, maybe he was beating her ass because the nigga is a woman beater and he does all type of shit, but maybe she was with it. How do you help convince, maybe not the investigators, but you put it into the ecosphere that possibly could encourage the narrative that could affect a grand jury, or otherwise you leak the video. What video leaks? The video. Again, think about all the videos that could leak. Didn't 50 Cent Cassie say that he supposedly got sent footage about a freak off that Cassie was in and literally hit Diddy up and said, bro, hey, niggas think I'm beefing with you like this. It ain't that serious. And he basically said he tipped Diddy off that there was that video don't leak. The video of them in whatever freak off don't leak. Right? And that video was being sent around. What video leaks? It's the video of Cassie getting beat. You get what I'm saying? Now, apparently, let me play it that you guys know what I'm talking about. All right, here we go.
And you see,
he's everywhere, courage and determination, allegation, and everything been up to, injecting his signature sarcasm.
God, chick.
What can deal point?
I ain't gonna lie, Gene Deal finna make a bag. The amount of interviews my boy finna do. Wait, where is the? There's a 50.
Ain't nobody
thoroughly examined.
There's a 50 interview where he literally says it. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here we
What
go.
up, guys? Your boy here for you guys.
Friend, you want to be the hot?
So after the
whatever happened,
do you think that Diddy was coming at you though?
Who, Diddy?
Yeah, because he said some slick shit. Like,
it's really interesting because Puffy's like a bitch.
Oh shit, man! What'd he say?
To describe Puffy in one word is a. I know it sounds kind of harsh, but I'll explain my statement. See, you know how ugly always got like pretty friends. He want to be the hot in the group. He want to make sure he getting all the attention. He want to make sure the niggas want to holler at him.
Wow.
And it's the reality of the situation, man. Don't need me to tell you.
So
if he tell you, he'll tell you himself what happened in Miami, stay in Miami. Well, it's not even open season on Diddy. I don't know who he's talking about because he didn't say my name.
Right, he didn't say your name, so.
Right, but I feel like that's the way I feel about him. I feel like he's, at the end of the day, whoever's around him, this is the final notice, the final note. because they'll suck the life out of him like everybody else that he's been around. Man, I don't know. I know. Check this out. On the up and up, the puff, like he called, we should kick it on the telephone after the Mace. And matter of fact, they sent me the girl pictures of this girl, like not the shit that y'all saw. Worse, way worse.
Wow.
Oh, you kidding me, yo?
Like penetration pictures and
Nah, come on, man.
Yo.
What?
All right, we got Myron Gaines on the line.
Hey, what's up, bro? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, chat. As promised, you know, I have a former federal law enforcement agent, also a friend of mine, Myron Gaines from the co-host of the Fresh and Fit podcast. He's here. I told you I was going to bring him on. He has additional insight, not only how these investigations are usually conducted. He could probably give us some more insight on how these, obviously it's a high profile arrest, how these cases are presented to the U.S. attorney and such forth. Essentially, I was just talking about a not really unrelated point, but I was talking about this has been a lot of chess plays happening until this point. I want to give you some theories that I would love for you to react to, and then I want to give you the floor to kind of like break it down as you see fit. So I had said last week, once I seen two things. We seen the subpoena get fired off for Daphne Joy, which is 50 Cent's baby mama, and Diddy, related to them at some Miami hotels. Also, simultaneously, we see Diddy go to New York. We haven't seen Diddy in New York without him being on a press run in years. We also see that house he had in Homely Hills in LA is officially, like, the realtors are taking care of that. I said I don't want to say the end is near, but essentially the end is near. I felt the decision from the grand jury was going to be very near. And I said within the month, unfortunately, I was right 5-6 days afterwards. We're hearing this. We're getting some details that he was arrested in the lobby of an expensive high-rise, New York high-rise. And by the way, chat, I'll show you guys this afterwards, but the U.S. attorney is saying that the indictment they plan to unseal in the morning. Myron, what are your thoughts about all this?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, man. So what do you want to go into in particular as far as this case? Because this is a very complex situation with overall investigation. What do you want to go into particularly?
Perfect. So, I keep hearing this a lot, that people are like, why didn't he run? Why didn't blah, blah, blah? What, like, in a situation where, like, just, go back to your HSI days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you guys are monitoring or had an active investigation / grand jury proceeding on a high profile target, how would that have taken place? And then how would potentially an arrest look like?
Okay, sure. So I think the number one thing here to keep note of is Diddy was cooperating with the authorities, right? Like his attorneys were pretty much talking to the United States Attorney's Office the whole time, trying to, hey, look, he's going to be traveling here, he's going to do this, etc. And I think the reason why he did that was he understood that indictment is imminent. He's going to get arrested at some point, and he looks at it like, look, the charges are coming down. We probably know what they're going to do, and we can talk about that next. So he's looking at it like, I need to be out on bond to fight this case, right? I don't want to be, in jail during the proceedings. So he wants to be out on bond. So I think the way his team angled it was they're going to be cooperative. Anytime you travel, they let him know, etc. Hey, we're intending to do this. We're intending to do that. Hey, a matter of fact, I'm going to be in New York so I can be close to you guys, because it's HSI New York that did this in the Southern District of New York, which is one of the most aggressive prosecutorial offices in the country.
Hey, by the way, are they, I don't know how they score efficiency, but like it feels like that they almost get the most amount of cases or high profile cases, especially
some of the most high profile cases. They were responsible for indicting the mafia in the 1980s, right? With Paul Castellano and these guys back in the day, John Gotti, they went after them. Rudy Giuliani famously went after them. They did the 6ix9ine case. They did the Casanova case. A lot of the big hip hop cases out of New York get indicted out of Southern District of New York. So it's a big district, and they're one of the most aggressive at USA's offices, one of the most prestigious. So he's like, look, I know the indictments are coming down. I'm going to go ahead and cooperate, and I'm going to put myself in New York. So if you guys have access to me, any questions, etc. And obviously they indicted him, and he was right there. So I think the play from his legal team was, hey, we're going to make a case that when the indictments do come down, when we go to your initial appearance and we try to get bond, they're going to give you out on bond because you have already shown that you're not a flight risk. The two biggest things that they look for whenever you're doing your bond hearing are you a danger to the community and are you a flight risk? Obviously, by him saying, yo, I'm cooperating and I'm doing whatever, he's going to probably surrender his passport. He's not going to be a flight risk. And then as far as like a danger to community, he can make the argument, I'm not a danger to the community, etc. So more than likely, I predict he's probably going to get bond, which is why he's been so cooperative in the first place. And him and his legal team have probably been coordinating with the United States Attorney's Office.
Okay. All right. So, okay. Still a million things to unpack. First of all, we've seen even foreign criminals, El Chapo. We've seen those people being taken into custody. Obviously, that the level of the risk of flight risk clearly changes when you're an international suspect versus one like Diddy, who, as you said, is cooperating. But
yeah, if you're a foreign national and no status in the United States, it's an automatic detention. Okay. Every single time, automatic detention. You don't get you would need. The only way that you would get bond as a foreign national with no status in the United States is the HSI agent would need to parole you, which wouldn't make sense. They would never do that. So, because that would mean that you're probably cooperating, but if you're in jail at some point, it just wouldn't happen 9 out of 10 times. So, if you're an illegal alien with no status, automatic detention.
Okay. Remember, we're talking about Diddy.
Yeah, he's a U.S. citizen. So
okay, and but very high profile guy. What does a bond hearing even looks like? Or what's a bond package or a bail package that and I know we're jumping the gun a little bit because we got to get into the indictment and what we probably think it is, but
right into it. So this is what's going to happen. He got arrested by HSI in New York, which for those that are wondering, I used to be an HSI agent out of Laredo, Texas. I've been to the New York field office a couple of times. I'm very familiar with that office. They're obviously a big office. They do a lot of big cases. They were intimately involved in the R. Kelly case. They actually were the ones that did the 6ix9ine case. So HSI in New York is definitely a powerhouse, and so is that U.S. Attorney's Office. So I'm not surprised they aggressively pursued this. But this is what's going to happen. He got indicted. He got arrested, right? Mm-hmm. They probably got the true bill today, this afternoon sometime. They went to go pick him up at the hotel. What's going to happen is he's going to have his initial appearance in front of a magistrate judge tomorrow, probably in Manhattan. When he's there, they're going to unseal the indictment and they're going to hit him with the charges. I predict it's probably going to be sex trafficking and racketeering because, and I could talk about why it's going to be racketeering here in a second, but he's going to go to his initial appearance in front of a magistrate judge. That magistrate judge is going to assign him to a district judge because he's been indicted. So now his case is going to go to a district judge for his initial appearance because it's mandatory by law that you go see a judge within 24 to 72 hours of you being arrested. So he's going to get the charges read to him that are on the indictment. He's not going to actually enter a plea. It's an initial appearance only. They're going to tell him he has the right to remain silent, blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to ask, hey, what does the government want to do as far as his bond, which I'm assuming him and his legal team are probably posturing to try to get him released on a bond tomorrow is what I'm assuming, which is why he's been so cooperative and flew up to New York and kind of made himself available to the feds because he knew that this indictment was imminent. Okay.
Do you believe that magistrate judge, which is going to be tasked with the initial appearance, do you think that, again, we're talking high profile case, it's a lot of man hours, a lot of money. Do you think that they are prepared to deal with a potential bond application or a bond, almost initial appearance to listening to bond tomorrow, or it's something that they will probably put off to another date?
I think they'll probably kind of figure it out tomorrow. I think the whole purpose of him cooperating with the government the way he has was for this very moment so that he can get bond. And if he doesn't get it on this one, there'll probably be a bond hearing shortly thereafter, maybe a couple days after, where they just will strictly have a bond hearing because he's not going to be entitled to what's called a preliminary hearing to establish probable cause because he's been indicted by a grand jury. So the next step is going to be the arraignment, which is where he's actually going to formally enter his plea. And obviously there's going to be a potential bond hearing if they need it. But I think more than likely he's either A, going to get the bond tomorrow, or B, there'll be a bond hearing specifically for that where, his attorneys are going to argue on his behalf and say that he's not a flight risk or a danger to the community, which are the two main prerequisites to, get yourself bond. He'll probably surrender his passport if he hasn't already. And yeah, but I predict he's probably going to get out on bond, which is why he's been so cooperative with them in the first place.
Okay. All right. So let's deal with some, minute details. And I know you've been there where you're the main case agent and you've gotten a case, you've presented it, and I don't know, maybe worked it up, maybe your chain of command, but eventually they got approved to go to the U.S. Attorney's Office. They say, yes, we're going to go with this. Somehow there is either an indictment or it's just written up in a complaint, and you now have to serve the arrest warrant. What do you think? So this one came down via TMZ today. They said they plan to arrest him tomorrow, but something came up. We don't know what. They haven't said. They had to do it today. In your experience, what was this like? Again, obviously you're saying that you believe that there was a presentment today, that the true bill of indictment came through. So they're aware of it. What do you think could have changed the circumstances? You just, again, we're spitballing. We don't know everything, but you're probably the best person we could ask.
So I can explain that. So, I guess I could talk about the case agent perspective, then we'll go into the indictment. So for the audience that's wondering, because they might not understand some of these terms. So guys, the case agent is the agent, or the special agent in this case, that's going to be responsible, that's running that investigation, right? He's running the case. He's coordinating directly with the U.S. attorney, right? The AUSA, Assistant United States Attorney, that's doing the case. And they're kind of working together. Now, the feds work a lot differently than the state. And what I mean by this is the special agent and the prosecutor are on the phone like almost every day. They become like best friends because you don't have the same level of authority, counter to, what people think, right? Common to belief, what people think is, people think, oh yeah, feds have all this power, etc. The reality is the feds don't have that much power. We don't have the same authority to do probable cause arrests like state and locals do. State and local finds you on the car, right? And you're drinking and driving, you got a DUI or whatever. They can just go ahead and make that probable cause arrest right there. Or they catch you with drugs. They can make that arrest there. Feds don't work that way. They need to call a prosecutor, a federal prosecutor, and say, look, I got XYZ. I want to go ahead and prosecute this case, which rarely happens with probable cause arrest. Most cases at the federal level are done by indictment, as you guys are seeing here. And I can explain that whole process if you want me to. But regardless, Diddy in this case was indicted. So that means that this agent went in.
Wait, hold on. You're giving some new information I didn't know. So
okay.
This
is pretty extensive. So stop me wherever you need to.
Yeah. Okay. So you just explained what most people, because again, when we hear the feds, it's like the boogeyman, right? So like that's just super different, right? So for example, yeah, if a local police pulls you over this and third, and they have probable cause, they could just arrest you and hit you with the charges when they get to the station, whatever the case is, right? Yep. But you're 100%. Saying that the feds don't move like that.
No, they don't. And the reason why, right? So I'll give you guys a perfect example. When I was on the Southwest border, right? Mm-hmm. Someone comes in, tries to smuggle drugs through the port. Customs and Border Protection arrests them, right? Detain them because they got the drugs right then and there. They call HSI. I show up. I seize the drugs. I take the individual. I call the prosecutor. I say, look, we got him here with 10 kilos of coke at the bridge. He's confessed, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to write up a criminal complaint. Are you guys going to accept prosecution? Yeah, we got you. Boom. Okay. So I take him, drop him off at the jail, go back to the office, write up my criminal complaint, send it to the AUSA. He sends it to the judge. Next morning, I'm there, swear to it, sign it, blah, blah, blah. And then, that was a probable cause arrest in that case. That doesn't happen often at the federal level. Oh. Most of the time, you're doing a long-term investigation. You're working hand-in-hand with the prosecutor, which is why they're close, like I explained before. And you're building up a case that might take months, if not years, to build up. And on top of that, you had to go to the AUSA prior and say, look, I'm doing this investigation. This is the target. This is the organization, blah, blah, blah. You got to sell it because AUSAs have a lot of discretion which cases they take and which cases they don't take. They might say, hey, that's not good enough for us. Go ahead and take it to the state. We're not going to go ahead and take that. Wow. So probable cause arrests aren't as common at the federal level. You typically have to go through an AUSA and get indicted after a long-term investigation. That's why the feds don't have the same arrest authority as the state and locals do. State and locals can arrest you all day if they see you with drugs or they see that you're drunk or disorderly conduct, whatever the fuck it may be. They have a lot more power with probable cause arrest because district attorney's offices are a lot more flexible than United States attorney's offices. Does that make sense?
No, it makes absolute sense. And by the way, you're giving us information that we would have not known, because I think a lot of times when we think of law enforcement, we think, obviously we hear about 97% conviction rate when it comes to the feds, but we think pretty much law enforcement is law enforcement. We're just thinking that's the prosecutor's office. Okay, cool.
That's precisely why they win so many cases, because the AUSAs have such discretion. They don't take cases unless, like, put it this way, AUSA is not going to indict you 99% of the time unless they're not sure they're going to win at trial. Like when I used to come in with my grand jury packet to indict somebody, it wasn't just for indictment of probable cause. The AUSA was like, I need enough where if we went to trial tomorrow, we would win. So the feds don't mess around with that because they have such discretion. That's why they have such high conviction rates, is because when they indict you, they're already ready for trial, ready to go. So
Diddy's finished.
Yeah, dude, it's a wrap.
Okay. So let's, again, we don't know for sure, but again, this is the best source anyone could have it right now. And by the way, thank you, Myron. And by the way, Fresh, what up, my nigga?
What up, bro?
Yeah, this is my office. Like, I worked out of the Miami field office, but the New York office, I'm very familiar with how they work. This is my agency, so I know exactly how they work. This was, a human trafficking 15 case. So,
Okay, so here's the question I have. So I want you to kind of walk me through. Okay, you were a case agent, right? And at what point do you pass it over to the U.S. Attorney's Office? And so how much of the work here is there like an agent or maybe a couple of agents doing versus, okay, this is when we definitely know this is in the U.S. Attorney's hands and they're making these plays. So you break it down from at least externally what we've seen.
So this is how I think. This is what I, speculate the investigation started to some degree. When Cassie first came out and said that she was being abused by him, etc., right? And they might have got tips and everything else like this from before, right? From the tip line or whatever. What I think more than likely happened was they started talking to a couple of people, going out, doing a couple knock and talks. Hey, this seems a little weird. These women keep coming forward and complaining about, nefarious sexual activity with Diddy from dating back from the 90s, whatever. This is a little weird. And at that point, especially if you're dealing with someone high profile, after the second or third or fourth interview where you might have a good witness or two, you're going to the United States Attorney's Office early on, right? And you're saying, look, this is the target, this is who he is, this is what we think we can build, etc. We talked to these people, whatever. And I think in a case like this, they more than likely had the U.S. Attorney's Office ear early on. And, I've always said this, the feds and the United States Attorney's Office, right? They like clout. They like the ability to prosecute high profile individuals. It's going to hit the news. It's going to be big, a big W for them, a big press release. So I'm assuming once they figured out who the guy was, right, Diddy, they probably were working with the United States Attorney's Office fairly early on this, is what I predict.
Okay.
Given the nature of who the individual was. And also keep in mind, there was a successful prosecution with R. Kelly prior to this. So if I'm not mistaken, some of the AUSAs that were on that case were also involved in this R. Kelly case.
All right, so
are involved in this Diddy case that were involved in the R. Kelly case. Sorry.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, right? And you mentioned your prediction, and I guess you could expound on your prediction for charges, and I would love to hear you explain that before. But in following up to that, I also want you to, answer the question of, okay, if because you mentioned racketeering, and and usually when people are in a racket, it's more than one. It's just not a singular individual. And maybe I'm wrong, but do you believe that this indictment solely falls on Sean Diddy Combs, or maybe there are 3, 4, 5, 6, a dozen other people, maybe not charged with everything, but with kind of ancillary people who the prosecutors could try to dance along maybe in a trial to say, hey, these were the people that were doing his bidding, but he was making a call. What do you think?
Yeah, so the reason why they're going to have to use the racketeering statute, right, is because a lot of these crimes happened a long time ago, right? Like some of these crimes are beyond the statute of limitations. So in order for the prosecutors to kind of bring in some of those allegations that happened in the 90s or maybe even the 80s or early 2000s or whatever, they're going to need to go ahead and prove that he was committing these crimes for a period of time, right? Racketeering activity, right? And the criminal organization is ongoing, or the criminal enterprise is ongoing. So that is why they're going to have to do this under the auspice of RICO, so that they can go ahead and say, look, we're going to bring in all these other crimes, right, that were done decades ago because he's been doing it for a while. So sex trafficking is considered a crime that falls under the RICO Act. right? There's there's drug trafficking, there's violence, witness intimidation, there's extortion, all these different types of crimes that they typically had there historically to go after organized crime like the mafia, whatever. As long as they can prove that he's still committing these crimes to some degree, they can bring in all those allegations from prior, but they need to do it under the RICO statute to be able to bring them in, so they get around this whole statute of limitations problem.
Oh wow, yeah, I spoke about that before too. Could you so sex trafficking, and I've heard a few, us YouTubers on here, obviously the 99.9, and you're obviously the 0.1% that has worked in law enforcement. We're either like ghetto lawyers, or we're going off like what we either know from either our experience dealing with the criminal justice system, or just kind of like looking at these things a lot. Could you explain sex trafficking? Because I've heard, like, for example, like Whack 100 said, yo, well, if you fly a girl out and you fuck her, and if she alleges that there's an abuse there, well, the person crossed state lines, this and third, it's sex trafficking. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of like a very loose and broad, interpretation of what sex trafficking could be. What is sex trafficking? And where would a federal authority start to look at it in?
So I'm going to just kind of give the more practical agent side of it, right? So the thing with sex trafficking, and this is very contrary to what people think, it's not as common as people think it is, right? What people always conflate sex trafficking with is human smuggling, bringing in illegal aliens into the United States for a sum or a fee. Those individuals are brought into the United States. Their families are being extorted, etc. That's human smuggling. Now, does it lead to human trafficking later on when they get into the United States and they're forced to work jobs or whatever it may be? Of course. But people often conflate human smuggling with human trafficking, which are two completely different crimes. One is, AUSC 1324. The other one is a far more serious crime that's 18 USC, right? Which is the criminal code versus the immigration code. So that's number one. Number two, as far as sex trafficking goes, it's actually fairly hard to prove. A lot of the times when people think that they got a sex trafficking case, and I know this because I've been on so many of these different raids, is what ends up happening is you bust a prostitution ring, right? You thought, oh yeah, we had these girls, they're being trafficked, whatever. You talk to them and they all love their pimp. They don't want to cooperate. They don't want to say that they were being held or whatever. Some of them are lying to protect them. Some of them were trafficked or whatever. But the point is that it's very difficult to get witnesses because sometimes they don't want to necessarily cooperate. So what ends up happening is you just end up getting everyone arrested for solicitation charges, right? Ends up being just a prostitution ring bust. Now, the way to get around that though, right, which is how the feds come in a lot of the times, is if the girls are under 18, it's an automatic human trafficking charge.
Wow.
Automatic.
Why
so
automatic?
That's where they're going to get them. Is some of these girls, from what I understand, were under 18 at the time when Diddy was messing with them and bringing them around in different states.
Okay.
I think they're going to get them. I mean, I'll have to look at the indictment to see, but this is my prediction.
Okay, let me interject and add. So on one of the particular civil cases that he has is that there was a young woman who was 17 that was supposedly, she met someone that worked for his label. That person said, hey, I think Diddy would like you. They called Diddy. Diddy spoke to the girl, spoke to the person, and then within a matter of hours, the girl got on a private jet to fly to Diddy and allegedly was around him. By the way, this girl, I'll post it here. I'll send you a link if you want to show it on, your stream.
Please.
Or you could even Google 17-year-old Diddy. There's multiple like articles about it. Her face is blurred out. She was seen sitting on his lap. Okay, there's a New York Post. I'll post it in the chat here. I don't know if whoever.
Okay, yeah, because Bill's on the computer, so he could do it.
All right, so Bills, you could just click from the chat. Is a chat between me and Myron, and it's a New York Post thing. It says Sean Diddy Combs accused of drugging and gang R-wording a 17-year-old in a new suit. There's photos of this girl sitting on his lap. Obviously, she's not shown for obvious reasons. She was 17 at the time. Her lawsuit against him says she was gang R-worded. But what's also very important is she was 17. Here's the important part. I think she was in, I believe, let me make sure, Detroit, I believe. And then he was either in New York. And let me just make sure, chat. I'm sorry. Yes, the woman says she met Pierre, who was an executive at Bad Boys Entertainment. So she met one of his workers in Detroit at a lounge. And then essentially he called Sean Diddy Combs on the phone and convinced the teen to fly to New York City. Before leaving the lounge, they said the worker took her to the bathroom where he smoked crack with her and apparently had her have sex with him first. Then he put her in a private jet from Pontiac, Michigan. She landed in Teterboro, New Jersey, which this is where Jay-Z and everybody who got a private jet who goes to New York lands in Jersey at Teterboro. That's fact. And yeah, they drove to a studio, and she has pictures to prove she's with him. Would that be considered as sex trafficking?
Yeah, that's a cut and dry human trafficking right there at the federal level because she's not 18. He moved her in between states. That affects interstate commerce. So that's where they're gonna get him.
Everyone knows every time Diddy's name comes up in something, it's always some freaky issue by the sea, man. Now, in what's new, you feel me? Now, new information's coming out. Diddy lost a lawsuit where he essentially owes $100-something million. That person, I'm not gonna lie, bro, you're never seeing that money. It's sad to say. You're never ever seeing that money ever. Yeah. Is the diddler. You're never seeing that money. Got some of the best lawyers in the world. He's a billionaire. Still supposedly. You feel me? He's liquidating his assets now. Selling houses and doing all that. But bro, you're not seeing any money. Like Diddy's the only reason he won the case because Diddy just never went to court. That's it. But it's your boy Big Act News. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let me know how you guys feel about everything. And I'm out.